Once again, we appreciate everybody coming out, and we're going to follow the program as in order. And we have Mr. Ward Scott, who's going to come up and talk to you and welcome you, first of all, and then talk about the importance of MLK Day. And he'll also, talk about the role that his grandfather played in, opening up doors for many people.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? All right. Thanks for having me here. I've been charged with two things, and that is, like Gary said, to welcome everyone. So I want to say welcome and good morning. It's a beautiful morning to be able to fellowship and gather in the house of the Lord. My family and I were listening to some Martin Luther King speeches in the car on the way here, and I tell my son, he's 10 years old, I tell my son all the time about my upbringing and my days in school and high school and everything. So I want you all to know that it feels good to be amongst family. My family loves you guys, and we're happy to be here in this community this morning. I'd like for each and every one of you to give yourselves a round of applause for waking up this morning. Things like this, unique things like this, really don't happen in a lot of communities anymore across the nation. Pulling together, having a family bond, pulling together and having a space to provide healing for one another, to reminisce on the good times and mourn our ancestors that have gone before us. These type of programs impact the youth in a great and mighty way. My age group, my demographic, we grew up participating in programs like this, and so I just think it's wonderful to see all of the youth out and to see everyone walking down the street this morning that really filled my heart up. I can see so many friends and so many former teammates and everything here. It's just good to know that everybody is still here continuing the good fight. Once again, my name is Warwick Scott. I'm the CEO of the Wendell Scott Foundation. Has anyone ever heard of Wendell Scott? Raise your hand. All right. So Wendell Scott is my grandfather. He is my grandfather, and we run our family's foundation. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what he was able to accomplish during the civil rights movement and how it relates to this community in particular. My grandfather raced at 495 career starts. Okay, that means he raced 495 career races in NASCAR, and he never had the benefit of sponsorship. He never had anyone to back him or support him. The engines that he built, the cars that he raced in, the operation that he ran was all done in a little garage in Danville, Virginia, about 30 minutes down the street. My father, some of you all may know him as Coach Scott, was the basketball coach, athletic director here at Laurel Park High School for many, many years. So my grandfather used to come to Laurel Park games, football games, basketball games. He sat in the stands. He came and rooted for the guys. He was an avid fan. But little did we know, did we realize that we had a global civil rights icon sitting right there amongst us. Okay? Jacksonville, Florida, December 1st, 1963. Wendell Scott becomes the only African American still to this day to win a NASCAR race, the Jacksonville 200. Not only that, but he also raced more laps than the rest of the field. It was the Jacksonville 200, and he raced 202 laps because when he passed the field, they wouldn't wave the checkered flag for fear of a race riot. We're in Jacksonville, Florida in the 60s. Okay? It's a historic thing that Dr. King fought for, and Dr. King and his colleagues, and it is the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Up until that time, everything that we experience today in a segregated society, these things did not exist. Youth, I want you to consider that for a minute. It's kind of hard to digest to think that the movie that you went to this past weekend, you had to go to a colored-only movie theater, or you had to go to a colored-only Applebee's, or a colored-only Olive Garden. Okay, when the Jordans come out, you couldn't stand in line to get the Jordans. If you did, you were either going to be thrown in jail or you would be murdered or killed. This is the reality that African Americans live with every day in the 60s. So once again, I'm going to play it again for you. December 1st, 1963, Wendell Scott became the first African American to ever win a NASCAR race. He also became the first African American team owner. Because he was not sponsored, he owned his own team. Okay, I can look out here now and see many of my peers and colleagues that have gone on to do great things and become business owners and educators and different things like that, lawyers, doctors. Dr. King fought for all of these things to happen. Without his definitive sacrifice, these things would not have taken place. My grandfather and Dr. King ran in the same lane. Okay, when he raced in Talladega, Alabama, or Atlanta, Georgia, of Jacksonville, Florida. He raced all over the United States of America. When he did those things, it was still, integration was still a thing. Segregation was still a thing. The Ku Klux Klan roamed free. It wasn't like they had to hide, okay? So to have the courage to pursue your dreams is what this day is all about, okay? You continue to respect those before you, continue to respect your ancestors, all right? Try to use 2 words. It's probably like foreign language these days. It's called yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, sir. You know, try to hold on to that. Try to hold on to that because like if you like jewelry or you like fashion and you like nice things, then you should try to use that as much because that will last longer than any type of jewelry or any type of shoe or anything like that. Having that type of character, that type of candor will take you a very long way. Okay, so I don't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to give y'all a little brief intersection on Dr. King and the great Wendell Scott and the great Sandy Love of Virginia. We love you. Thank you for having us.
Boy, don't he look just like his daddy? But look, stand up, little Ward. Stand up, little Ward. Come here, remember going to basketball camp? That's exactly how Ward looked back in the day. And his wife is over here. You know, if you wave your hand. And we appreciate that, Ward. And we are going to show the kids some video of Wendell Scott so they can get a little more, you know, in-depth information about Wendell Scott. Up next, we have my man, Mr. Wayne Draper. I met this fella years ago, nitty gritty. And he does it all. But I'm going to let him talk to you a little bit, you know, about our theme, the 2020 vision. So he's going to talk about that a little bit. Then we'll have some poems after that.
I'm not the person for the poem. How everybody doing today? Nah, y'all ain't doing that. How everybody doing today? All right, that's what I'm talking about. First and foremost, I'd like to give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, pastors of this house, my man, Brother Gary, putting this on an amazing event, and last but definitely not least, all of you all. Exactly what Ward said. My name is Wayne Draper. For those who don't know, I'm from Martinsville, Henry County. Just recently moved back from New Jersey, where I had the privilege to lead roughly up to 300 folks at any given time, so y'all can definitely feel my heart and pain with that. But now I have a unique pleasure to represent this company behind me called Right Now. One of the things about Right Now, we always cast a vision. And one thing about this house, Gary charged me with leading you all to kind of see the vision 2020. Not only for myself, but for yourselves as well. But one of the biggest things about vision is you have to have focus on it. I know some of you all can't see the images projected on the screens behind me, but it's a man with 2 hands putting, or a female putting 2 hands, piecing that puzzle together. One thing about vision in 2020 and being focused upon it is if you're not focused on it, you're going to continue to lose grasp of what you're trying to reach for. So let me just go over a few key components in reference to it. You know, when you look at a vision and you're trying to piece it together, you don't catch vision, vision catches you. You know, where you sit determines where you see. So I passed out a piece of paper and a pen right now and ask everybody to just scribble down what you see or a picture of what you see. I guarantee you each one of you, if you had to turn it in, every one of them will be different. because no two visions are the same. So you got to be careful who you casting your vision with. Not even your peers are going to see it the way you see it. That's why it's your vision. And people always say in corporate America, you want to try to consistently have a work-life balance. You know, for me, I look at it as no. You just want to have life. Like your man Lil Law said, you want to consistently live your best life, whether you're at home or at work. Is that all right? And a lot of things we see in myths and stuff like that, people consistently always say, just so I know who I'm talking to in the room, show of hands of how many people in the room want to be a billionaire. So I got 1, 2, 3, okay. So let me ask this question. How many of you all are praying for it? Praying for it. How many of y'all believing for it? How many of y'all already received that though? So she said she ready to receive that. She said, I'm ready to receive that. So as I ask you that question, are you ready to receive the stress? The peer pressure goes along with it.
That's right. Yeah.
You ready to receive all of that? And when I look at life, you know, you consistently hear something saying the glass half full or half empty. You know, for me, I look at it as not being either. Because one of the things about that glass being half full, somebody could just drink enough what they needed and quench their thirst. You know, after you quench your thirst, and then we all, you know, we want to be billionaires like Mr. Scott. But after you just quench your thirst just a little bit, some of us consistently want more. But what if you want more and we don't have a big enough glass to pour it into? You know, we always want overflow, but once we consistently get to that overflow, if we pour it into you, this is your glass. What happens if you broke it and you got holes in it and it's leaking out? The other myth we always say, you know, because all of us want to be business owners and things of that nature, we look at being in business and we always talk about the crabs in the barrel. Have y'all ever heard that term, the crabs in the barrel? Everybody knows all of us. How many of y'all got haters? No, don't put your hands up. Don't put your hands up. Do not put your hands up on that. But all of us got that inkling of feeling what a hater so will feel like, look like. Crabs in the barrel. We always hear that. We always say that. But how many of y'all ever cooked or seen a pot of crabs in a barrel? That's one thing we consistently do with Jerry's. I'm kind of close to Philly when we go get crabs. So for me, when I look at crabs in the barrel coming out of the barrel, they grab each other like the whole terminology said. But sometimes people is grabbing on you to pull you back to keep you out of going in that pot of water that they about to go in and get cooked. And you will get burned. Let me keep going. Let me continue to work just real quick and I'm out of here. So not only is 2020 the start of a new year, but it's also the start of what? A new decade.
Yes.
So for me, when we talk about focus, my life, I'm focused on 3 things. My faith first, my family, and then my future. So as we're talking about future for the next 2020 is legacy. For me, for this next decade, I'm working on my legacy. And I encourage a lot of my other family and friends in here, because I'm going to look at all of those family and friends now. We bonded, so next time you have a cookout, I'm definitely invited. So legacy for me is making the mark that matters. The mark, that's why it's underlined for a reason. Mark for me simply means starting with is mentality. We're trying to become billionaires, but we don't have the right mindset for it. So it starts out with the mentality. Take this time for yourself, by yourself, about yourself. Accountability. Are you going to be accountable for the task that you got charged ahead of you? Are you reliable? The R. Are you reliable for the things that somebody called you to do? Are you whatever you said you're going to do, are you going to do it? And last but definitely not least, the K is kinesthetically. So 3 types of learners: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Just simply means doing it. So whatever you learn, put it into action. And we talked a little bit about our future a few moments ago, but then I'm closing out. There's 3 phases in your life. Your past. Some of us try to run from it. My encouragement to you today is to acknowledge it. You know, one of those things was a session turned into a lesson, so you didn't fail. Your present is where you're at now. Embrace it. If it don't challenge you, it won't change you. And last but definitely not least, the future. I asked when we passed out pens and paper here, and we all wrote something down throughout your vision, what would it look like? How many of y'all ever seen a number 2 pencil? Unsharp, just a number 2 pencil. It had a whole lot of ridges on it. So when I look at that every edge has to have pressure. Haters, pressure, you doubt yourself. Charlotte, pressure, accountability, pressure. Am I good enough? Pressure. But once you get pressure on all of those edges, it comes to a point. And now you can practice your penmanship. Because your future is a blank canvas. It's just waiting for you to be written. Thank you all.
We thank Mr. Draper, and he didn't get to talk about his business, but, and I'm gonna, you know, if you're doing anything as far as housework, building, tearing down decks, basements, water, come on, keep talking, you know, fire, you know, holler at him, because that's what his company does. And I can appreciate that he's more concerned about getting you all the message about, you know, us and about, you know, promoting the business. I appreciate that. But definitely, you know, see him, you know, get a card from him, because he's doing some great work out in the community, and, you know, great young man. At this time, we do have 2 poems being read, and Miss Angela texted me last night and said, I can't do it. But you know what? She's a poet, and we all know it. And she's got a poem, and I don't know if you want to go first or second. You want to go second? All right. So I'm going to read mine. And actually, I was practicing it last night, and I thought I was going to get that confidence, because I kind of wrote it like a little rap song, but I couldn't. My baby girl said, Daddy, Daddy. But I tried. So I'm going to read it, and I'm not going to try to rap it. But it is called 2020 Vision. And as, you know, Mr. Draper said, you know, it's taking us back, and then it's bringing us forward to where we're trying to get to, and it's in reference to us as a community, you know, not one individual, you know, not myself, but just us as a community. And 2020 Vision, we've seen it all, we've done it all, but in 2020, we got a new vision, y'all. See, we used to sell dope to make ends meet. We used to hang on the corners and run the street. If you saw one of us, you better believe that the rest of us were not far away. We hung tight because you never knew when somebody wanted to act cray-cray. And we'd have to remind them that we were from Logtown, and we ain't in the circus, so we ain't dealing with no clown. But that was back in the day when we were on a self-destruction mission. Life has changed. We've grown up, and now we have a 2020 vision. We out here hustling, getting paid, and it's legit. We got businesses with our name on it. We looking for real relationships, and we done with the drama. We husband and wife, ain't no more baby daddy, baby mama. We are done with the gun toting, dope smoking, and violence. We're raising our kids in peace and quiet. Shh, you hear the silence? In the new Logtown Sandy level, everything is done with precision, because we got the eye of the tiger and that 2020 vision. When the popo come around, we can sit and have conversation, because we know we haven't committed a crime or a violation. Dang, it's amazing this new life we living. Got so much excess, ain't no more taking, we giving. My boys are dropping the kids off at the sitter and taking their lady to dinner. No doubt this 2020 vision is a winner. We ain't living like LeBron and Shaq, but it sure feels good making money without selling crack. I'm really digging this new Logtown Sandy level flow. Mama's chilling with daddies, and daddies watching their kids grow. Logtown Sandy level, I love our new mission. Let's stay focused and keep this 2020 vision.
I think I'll just sit there and Garden did it all. I had a little something. I struggled with this one. But I tell you, I'm getting old. All right. 2020 is our vision. Pulling together is our mission. We've been doing this march 10 years long. Seemed like the last 2 years, some things went wrong. We got friends and families against each other. It's time to let it go and pull together. I mean, no matter what you do these days, somebody trying to stab you in the back. Don't worry about the devil. Just stay on your track. The man above said, just have faith the size of a mustard seed. With God involved, What else do you need? Search the heart of every man. Try to see and understand. Good or bad can both be sown. Search every heart, but first your own. In the heat of every battle, he is there. In the long, lonely nights, he knows every need and he cares. Time travels on, quickly it mounts. How we spend time is what really counts. 2020 gonna be our theme. In 2020, lots of peace and joy I hope it brings. 2020, put down the guns. That don't make you bad. It just destroys lives and have families walking sad. 2020, we lost a young person over what we're marching for today. It's time to take a stand and let God lead the way. Amen. 2020, it's time to make that change and leave the past behind. 2020, it's time to renew and refresh our mind. 2020, the change starts with you. 2020, let's pull it together and let it do what it do.
We want to thank Miss Angela Dillard Wilson for that. And at this time, we're getting ready for our, main speaker, and Mr. Rodney Dillard, son of Otis Dillard and the late Catherine Dillard, and he's somewhere in the house. I saw him walking with Uncle Lonnie. I hope he's not going to tell us what Uncle Lonnie told him to talk about today. Otherwise, this might be the last march ever. But after Rodney, we will have a thin line between love and violence. And I ask all of those folk participating in that if we just kind of get together. But the microphone is yours, and we appreciate it. Let's give Mr. Rodney a hand, Reverend Rodney a hand. Yes, sir. What do you think, huh?
We give honor to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We give honor to the shepherd of his house, Dr. Moore, and to all the clergy that may be here, and to all of God's children. It's truly a blessing to be here in the house of the Lord, to see so many people. I think we ought to give God a praise. Normally, the only time I see so many young people and so many people is at a funeral. Amen. But truly, the Lord is about to do a new thing. 2020 is the year of new beginnings. Amen. I believe that old things have been passed away, and behold, all things are made new. In other words, what you did in the past do not have to affect your future. And we are talking about vision. Vision means to be able to see something. And I was not born and raised in Longtown, but my father was. And I remember coming here as a little boy, here and there, and I would hear of all of the gun violence. I would hear of all of the drugs being sold, and I would hear about all of these things that was going on in the community at that time. But I'm so glad that now is a change. And I believe, I know this person said it's not about one individual, but I'm going to sum it up for us with what a vision will do. There was a young man, I remember, he tried to play basketball. Amen, amen. He tried to play basketball. Amen, amen. And I remember going to his mother's house, and I remember him sitting in the window, looking out the window. And if I had to speak for him, I can say that he said it has to be a better way. Amen, somebody. Amen. And so he began to mature, and he went off to college. And he still was not satisfied because he had seen what the future could be if somebody would just put forth the effort. Amen, somebody. And so he began to go off, and he became a principal, and he went off, and he began to educate himself, and he went off, and he learned all these things. But one thing he did not do was to forget about from whence he came from. Come on, we do that in the Lord. Amen. And so, Too many of our young men have been killed in this community. Too many of our young women have been killed in this community. If one person dies from gun violence, that's one too many. We fail to realize sometimes that not only the one who is the victim, their family suffer, but also the ones who commit the act, their family suffer. And we also fail to realize that all the seeds that would have came from that person have been cut off from the earth. So I encourage young people, as has been forestated, to look to your future and don't let your past be a hindrance. You don't have to have the right last name to be successful. You don't have to come from the right background to be successful. But all you have to do is put your trust in God. Lean and depend. And we serve a God who specializes in making the impossible become possible. I know you told me I have to preach today, but the preacher want to come out. Amen. But we have to understand that it starts with a vision. It starts with a dream. You have to see yourself in the future. If you cannot see yourself in the future, you will always stay in the past and in your present. But I just come to encourage somebody on today, see where you want to be, and ask God to lead, guide, and direct you. And with Christ, all things are possible. God bless you.
Yes.
All right, we're getting ready for the skit, so just give us like 35 seconds.
What you're about to see is a glimpse into three different marriages, but all with one thing in common. They are all walking a thin line between love and violence. Scene 1, meet the Dillards. A bitter wife resorts to domestic violence while her husband self-medicates to numb the pain of their relationship.
I tell you, that truck gonna do something out the wire. Full of mess. Every time you turn the TV on, he on there telling lies. So he getting on my nerves.
Honey, I'm home. Been down to the Boom Room.
That's your problem. That go-go.
Oh, you my problem.
Every time I look, you down that drink. You gonna get enough of that drink.
You want a drink?
No, I do not. You know I don't take none of that mess.
All you
Drink
do,
yourself on.
you just run that mouth.
Just keep on drinking yourself. Just keep drinking. You gonna see.
Oh, you gonna see when I get up and leave up out of this house. I'm getting tired.
You ain't went nowhere yet.
I tell you,
I ain't worried about it.
you sit there and watch that old TV right there, and you watch me leave
I ain't
up out
worried
of
about it.
here. Back to the Boom Room.
Next we have Meet the Kings. A verbally abusive marriage in process of divorce leaves their child feeling caught in the middle as she spirals downward in depression.
Yes, girl. Yes, I seen him all on Facebook fronting and stunting like he's doing something. No, he ain't doing nothing. Don't never bring no money. Don't never do nothing for him. Matter of fact, here they come right now. Let me see him on. I will call you next.
It's all right. I'm gonna go, all right?
Oh, no. We got to talk. You can't go nowhere. Where's my money?
What money?
The money that you owe me.
All you talk about is money.
Exactly. She has to be taken care of. She has
What she-
cheerleading fees. She has school dues. What you gonna do? Are you gonna help me?
When she with me on the weekend,
I ain't about to try to hear this.
She
I'm
mine.
talking about everyday
when she
money.
with you on the
I
weekend,
need my money.
she yours.
I need my money.
I'm gonna help you out real fast,
I
all
need
right?
my
I'm gonna
money.
help you. Here you go. Here
I
you go.
need my money. Don't walk away from me. I'm not doing every single day. They're
Scene
always
3.
talking about me. I'm getting so sick and tired of this. Maybe I should just take these and not wake up in the morning. I can't do this anymore.
Scene 3. Meet the Bentons. An unemployed bad boy tries to manipulate his wife into a life of crime, and when she rejects him, he resorts to physical abuse.
Hey, Boo. How you doing? I'm fine. How was your day?
Sorry.
Did you go look for a job today?
No, look. All right. I need you to drive, bro.
Yeah, where?
I'm gonna get this money. Listen. You just park the car. Stop sign. Trailer. You got about 25,000 in there. Let's go get
So
it.
you want me to go with you to rob somebody? No. No. I'm not doing that. I'm scared.
What you scared of? You ain't got to do nothing but drive.
Guys, I don't want you to lose your life.
No,
I don't want to
everybody
lose my
lose
life.
their
I ain't trying to go to jail.
So you ain't do it.
No, you need to get you a job. You need to get a job like me.
Look, we need that 25 bands. Look, you gonna do what I tell you to do, man. What you mean you gonna do?
I'm not gonna
You
do
gonna
it.
do?
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Scene 4. The break room at work. Co-workers meet up on break to catch up on the events of each other's week.
You ain't invited yourself. This job is getting on my back.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing?
There she
So what, I mean, what are you saying? Here she comes.
I mean, you got more money than we do. You come in here all vibrant and everything.
Of course. And why you got on shades in the building? Ain't no sun in here? Yeah, I'm tired. I had a long night.
It's
I ain't getting no rest,
shades,
honey. It's the third time this month.
Yeah, it is.
You sure going to bed earlier?
Something going on.
It ain't no tea. I'm
What's going on
tired.
with
What's
you?
going on with y'all? Okay, so, excuse me, is your husband still a drunk?
You see my hand, don't you?
Mike Tyson.
You should have put his head between the washer and dryer. He gonna get all right. He gonna get better. You can believe that.
Okay, now let's come to you. Are you still getting a divorce?
Everything's lovely, honey. I'm about to get my last name back. It's all
Oh,
over.
okay,
You better
when I
say it.
see you,
Yes,
all right,
ma'am.
then we're gonna have to have a party.
Unfortunately, everybody can't have a good man like you.
I know, my husband loves me, oh my God, he just adores me. I love him, oh my God, he's the
Holy
best
other
thing.
thou.
He's the best thing that ever happened to me. Okay, but listen guys, I'm gonna have a dinner at my house, and I wanna invite you guys to come, just to hang out, you know, we can talk, whatever, just whatever, so.
Like a
I'll-
pretty divorce party.
Yes, so what I'll do is I'll call you and we'll set it up, okay?
Okay, let's turn up.
Y'all have
I'll be
to
there.
there.
We
Put
might.
some shades on.
I wear my shades if I want to.
Scene 5. The intervention. Expecting to arrive for dinner, Each couple and their issues are actually confronted by a co-worker and her husband in hopes to redirect them from that thin line between love and balance.
All right, honey.
I'm so glad you invited them to come over to dinner
Yes.
tonight.
You get to meet all of my friends.
Absolutely.
They're so nice.
Absolutely. We can
Oh,
really
my
help
God.
them from what you've been telling me. It's gonna be 7 of them, right? Let's get 2 more
Yeah, we
chairs.
need 2 more chairs. You grab them and I'll straighten up a little bit. Yes, come see my friends. Woo-wee.
All right. And they do know that they're coming here to get help, right? Did you tell them that part?
Tell them that.
You didn't tell them that. You tell everything else, but you don't tell that.
No, that I should have told.
And you didn't play this role that I'm some perfect guy, did you?
Oh, I did.
Oh, no, please don't do
Oh,
that.
I said you were the best thing that ever happened to me, baby. Oh my God, I waited so long.
Did I hear somebody knock at the door? All right. Oh, you ready? Okay, let's receive it.
Come.
All right. Who's this?
That was taking a mighty long time.
It sure is. What? Is he okay? You okay, sir?
She said, don't touch that.
I'm already a little tired of footed, but
How are you doing, man? All right. Welcome to my home. And you must be Miss Dilton.
I deal with that every day.
It's hard.
Come in.
Come on in.
Come on in.
All right. Such a beautiful family.
Look.
Such a beautiful family. Why are you not smiling, young lady?
She's just tired.
She's just tired. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the home. Hey, how are you doing, sir?
And when I seen you when you came in, you tripped, fell, and you wiped your face.
Oh,
He didn't need that. You could have kept that.
We appreciate you all coming over tonight. We're really looking for. I hope this young lady's okay. She looks somewhat unhappy. Just tired. Okay.
Oh, they say she just tired, but I tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I went down to the liquor store the other day and I seen their little beautiful person down there buying some pills.
Oh,
Come in. Come in.
Oh, this is such a happy couple. Man,
Look at them.
you told me they all had problems, but look how happy they are.
Oh, the glasses.
Hey. How you? Hey, girl. Oh, we got the shades on today.
Absolutely. Welcome. What's up, boss man? You doing all right?
How y'all doing?
Good stuff.
How y'all doing?
Guys, we appreciate you all coming to our home tonight for dinner. My wife told me that she worked with you ladies and she wanted to invite you all over so that we could offer you some help. She said all of you all are going through some things. We wanted to help you all out. She said that we were here to get you guys some help.
Always telling our business.
You better help us.
I don't need any help. I live the perfect life. My husband loves me. Don't you? baby?
Absolutely. Now, I don't know what everybody's problem is, but let's start with what's your problem?
I don't have a problem. He was talking to me.
You my problem. He didn't call no name.
Yeah, that mouth of yours is my problem. That's what caused me to drink. This is my problem.
Now, I think you just said what is your problem?
My problem is alcohol.
Alcohol. Now, why do you drink?
To deal with my wife and her mouth.
So you're gonna blame your wife for your drinking problem.
You always do.
I want to start with you. You need to make sure, first of all, you understand that anytime you have a problem, it's within you. You have the right to control that. Don't blame her for your reason for drinking. You have choices that you can make. What's your problem?
I ain't got no problem.
You don't have a problem? Everything's all good with you?
I'm straight.
What's your problem, man? What's your problem?
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Come on over here. I wish he would come over here.
He hit you. Oh! You hit a lady? You hit a lady? No. That's not your old lady. She might be your wife, but it's not your old lady. You didn't hit her?
Oh, yes, he did. She wears the shades 3 times a week.
Don't even mind y'all business.
You good for that mess.
Now, You a man. And you're putting your hands on a woman?
Well, I said, what
What
she
kind of
did?
man do you
What she
consider
do to
yourself?
deserve it then?
What did she do to deserve it? No woman deserves to get their hands thrown by a man. What did you do? What did she do to deserve getting hit? Nothing. There's nothing a woman can do to deserve getting hit. That makes you less than a man to put your hands on a woman. If he even looked like he's gonna put his hands on you, that's it. You don't accept that. You're a woman, and you don't have to accept a man putting his hands on you and being abusive to you. You call the police if you have to. You let people know that this, I'm not gonna accept this. And I know he's looking at you, but don't worry about that. We'll protect you. What's your problem? You don't have any problems?
Well, since everybody's being honest, my problem is I cannot deal with my wife's mouth, and we argue and bicker too much. We can't get things settled for our kid because we argue every time, constantly.
And what do you argue about?
Anything.
Money.
I could be.
Money.
I could put too much sugar in my coffee.
Always funny. Always.
Now, let me hear from you. Do you have a problem, young lady? What's your problem?
I bought these pills because I'm tired of my parents arguing.
You bought these what?
What are you doing with these?
I just wanted it all to stop. I hear it constantly, every single day.
Why did you talk to me?
Because you're always fussing with him.
See what you done?
No, she said you always fussing with me.
You always in the way.
You know, we all have different problems, but I want to sum it up. There's a thin line between love and violence. You know, there's a thin line between you loving him and being violent towards him. There's a thin line between you loving her and turning into an alcoholic. There's a thin line between you loving her and wanting her to be on your side and support you, but get a good cause and maybe she'll stand behind you, and that's love. Don't put her in a violent situation where she has to make a choice of you or you going to jail or her going to jail or both of y'all going to jail or both of y'all getting hurt. There's a thin line between love and violence. And you two, so your problem doesn't look that bad because you love each other, you work to keep your daughter happy, but guess what? The way you talk to each other, the way you communicate, look at the effect it's had on her. You might not consider that violence, but guess what? She's harming herself. And there are way too many kids harming themselves because of the actions of their parents. You need to get it together. You need to put aside your differences and stop complaining to each other and stop fussing and make some agreements and then stop having these conversations in front of her. You're grown. Send her to a room, have your conversations. Keep your voice low, communicate, talk, work through your problems. You all decided to get into this relationship together, work through that. There's a thin line between love and violence, and we have to get closer to love and less of that violence. There's too much of this. Can we all make a change? Can everybody agree that you'll meet me at my office so we can talk more? Are you willing to make a change?
Yes,
You
sir.
gonna be in that office. We're gonna be.
Can you put a muzzle on her mouth?
Now, you all have a difficult situation, but I still want to meet with you together because I need for you to realize how a real man would treat his woman, and I need, when she makes a decision, I need to know that you're not going to be doing anything to hurt her. Are you willing to meet with her in my office so we can have a conversation to work through y'all's issues? Okay. Are you willing to meet? All right. Are you all willing to meet?
If it'll help me get my family back together, I'm definitely willing to meet.
Right. Great. I look forward to seeing you all. I'm going to make sure my calendar is free next week. Give my wife a call or see her at work. Let me know. I will be available to meet with y'all. And we're going to work through this because we're going to make a difference. Because in 2020, we're going to have a new vision. All right, I will appreciate you all coming over for dinner. And, just thanks for coming over. And you guys can
we eat now?
Yes. We can eat now. We're going to walk back to the dining room, okay? Let's everybody walk back to the dining room.
Hey, can we get a photo with just the cast and crew? Hey, they want a photo with just the cast out there.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, come on.
Hopefully that got across the message that we were trying to get across. Our actions impact many other folk. And as we're getting ready for this picture, we want Mr. Marcus. Is it Marquise or Marcus? I said Marcus, and somebody said it's Marquise, but you know, we've actually met for the first time. Was it today or? I saw you at Friday, first time we met, but had a good phone conversation. You know, he's got a good message, and as soon as we take this picture, Mr. Marquise Grant's going to speak with you.
3, 2, 1. Got you. Good morning, good morning. A little nervous, so bear with me. Pray about this. And seen on Instagram, a man said, you don't have to be perfect, as long as it comes from the heart. That I can do. So that's what I'm here. My angle is a little different today. I'm from the other side in the program, the other side of the violence, gun violence. I was a part of the gun violence, drug dealing stuff and such. However, I changed my life. I got together. I was blessed, and everybody didn't make it. And it's crazy because some of the people that I grew up with that actually had gun fights and things with turned out to be cool, good dudes. And we talk now and be like, dang, I could have lost my whole life over what? I don't even know. We don't even know. Stupid territory. It wasn't even over money. I don't know what it was over, but praise God that we made it. So thank God for that. First thing I want to speak on today is misplaced loyalty. That's what I had, misplaced loyalty. And the reason why I say that is because I consider myself, I was loyal to the streets, loyal to my so-called friends. I was ready to get in the car, rep your city, took guns, shoot. It didn't matter. That's what I did. I was loyal to that. But at the same time, I say I love my family. I love my kids. I love my daughter. Why would I do anything for them? How should I love my family, love my friends, love my mother, and put myself in such harm's way on a daily basis? Every weekend we go into the club, and you know it's guaranteed they will get shooting afterwards. So what was I doing? So don't misplace your loyalty. If your loyalty stands with your family and your kids, and Christ, whoever it is, that's what you represent. Kids, don't be around people that don't represent you and the things that you stand for. Because, see, I was raised correct. It wasn't nothing that my mother did that caused me to go off course. I was inspired by all the wrong things. I was inspired by older people that grew up getting money. They had all the money, all the cars, all the clothes, all the jewelry. And I was taught the game, but I wasn't taught the game from both sides. See, it's this thing because my mother told me about the people that you be around is going to cause you to get in trouble. Nah, Ma, not me. I don't do what they do. That's what I thought. But they got this thing called conspiracy. Conspiracy means you don't necessarily have to be the person that did the crime. You be with the person, and you're going down as if you did the crime. And I'm telling you this from experience. I didn't hear about this. I did 15 years in prison from hanging with the wrong people, toting guns, selling drugs. I did 15 years. I was always the person. I could do mine. I'm real. I'm 100. And that's true. At the same time, it affects everyone around you. You think it feels good to be gone for. In my 10th year, I called home. My mom answered the phone crying like a baby. Mom, what's wrong? What happened? I just miss you so much. What can I do? Sit there and hold the phone. Like, man, my loyalty was so far off. I'm risking my life for guys that I thought was my friends that didn't even send me pictures, letters, money. We had a house fire, lost everything. You think they asked about me? No. I'm talking about my dad died. My grandma passed away. My best friend passed away. I couldn't even go to the funeral, and it was sad. My daughter was 4 years old when I left. I came home. She was 19. Daddy, when you coming home? You told me you'd be home when I turn 8. When I turn 6, I'm about to turn 8. That's what she told me. I begged her. I'm looking at a life sentence. I begged her, Winky, please stop asking me that. I can't take it. Because I don't know when I'm coming home. And even when I found out my release date, I still didn't know if that's when I'll come home. Because I don't know if you know about prison, but prison is tough. So you have to protect yourself there in a way of, if someone is trying to rob, rape, whatever, you have to protect yourself. You get jumped, so you don't know how the story's going to end. So when you go in, I don't care if it's 5 years for something small, it could turn into a life sentence. So be careful. And I speak here today about carrying guns as well. How many of y'all ever been mad to where you'd be like, I was so mad, if I had a gun, I would have shot him. Happens to everybody. Guess what? If you haven't been trained or to the point to where you physically can separate your thoughts from your actions, even if you're legal, you probably shouldn't carry a gun. Because guess what? Somebody's going to make you mad. So the first thing you do if you're mad and you got that gun is make that mistake. That 1 minute that you'd have made that mistake, it cost you the rest of your life. 1 minute. That's all it takes. 1 minute. So, yeah, thanks. So, I just want to say to the kids stuff, just be careful who you choose, who you call your friends, because everybody ain't loyal. Everybody's not loyal. Trust me, it doesn't matter how hard, tough they look. When you get in trouble, them people is not going to say that they did it. They're not going to free you. They ain't. And they're not going to check them. They're not going to send you money. It's a dirty game. I'm telling you. So if you could, just focus on just going to school, being there for your family, being there for your loved ones, and just try to make the best out of it, because the first 12 years of school and the next 4 years of college represent your rest of your life. That dictates the rest of your life. So if you mess that up, it's kind of going to make it hard for yourself when you have a choice. So choose wisely. So that's my speech, what I got today.
Man, it's amazing how every year we put this together and you don't know who's going to speak, who's going to talk, but some way, somehow, God send the right people at the right time. Up next, we're going to have the next two people come up. Valerie Blevins talking about healthy relationships, and Sharika Barksdale talking about teen dating violence. And I ask us, just to seriously, we're clapping, we're getting excited. But if we don't leave out of here and really reflect and look and say, what changes can I make? Then all of this is for nothing. And we're not here just because we want to say we're a part of the crowd, and I'm not going to go preach on you, but we want to be like the lady that reached out and touched Jesus, in the crowd of folk. We got to get some power. If we don't do that, then all of this is for nothing, because we're going to leave and be in the same boat we were in when we came in. So let us listen, not to hear it, but listen to do. Listen to make a change. Miss Valerie Blevins from Piedmont Community Services.
All right. Good morning. And watching that little skit, I know that we laughed, and I laughed at pieces of it, but that was part of my life. I was involved in an abusive relationship for 5 years, and I thought I'd never be in that situation. I was a counselor, and I helped people in situations like that. But I ended up in one, and a lot of those things that the skit showed went on in my life. And a lot of people don't know that about my life. And sometimes it's embarrassing to even talk about it, because people say, oh, you look like you have yourself together. And it's like, at one time, I did not, because I was in that relationship. And something that helped me is I moved from the area where my abuser's at. He's still in another state. And as far as I know, he's locked up for punching a 16-year-old in the face. So his legacy goes on, and I'm very grateful that I was able to get out of that relationship, and I moved like 3 states away, and that was a saving grace for me. But talking about healthy relationships, now I can say I am in a healthy relationship, and most of us learn about relationships from our own families. And I thought I came from a great family. Once I got out of and lived on my own, I noticed that my father was very abusive to my mother. He put down women a lot of times, and at this time in my life, I choose not to have a relationship with him because he's just not a nice person, and I'm old enough that I can make that decision. But I didn't know about healthy relationships. We were doing a program in Henry County and Martinsville City Schools in 9th grade. We would train upper class men and women to go in and talk to the 9th graders about healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. And we lost a grant to do that program. So we've been doing it. It was 5 sessions, then it went down to 3, now it's 1 session. So some of the information I have today is from that program. And I think if we can teach this stuff in the schools, and I know there's some red flags that I'll go over some of them. If I would have known these were red flags of possibly being in an abusive relationship, maybe that could have saved me from getting there. So a healthy relationship is based on a connection with mutual trust, honesty, and support. An unhealthy relationship doesn't mean that it has to be abusive. It's just that you don't have that trust and support. Some of the boundaries that we teach young people is give yourself a length of time to know that person. Don't just jump into a relationship. And this can go for adults too, because a lot of times we're starting new relationships. Acknowledge something about that person. Know where they come from. Know what they've been through. Know what their experiences have been. Have shared activities, but be able to have activities on your own also. For young people, it's mainly age appropriate. We try to tell teens no more than 2 years difference when you're in a dating relationship would be the healthiest. And level of commitment, especially for young people, it's you just don't jump into a relationship and talk about marriage 2 weeks later when you're in 11th grade. Get in that relationship, get to know that person before you make these decisions and commitments. Some characteristics of a healthy relationship is boundaries. Have your own boundaries. And we try to teach young people this also. Know what your boundaries are before you start dating so you don't have to cross those boundaries. Respect and appreciation for yourself and the other person. A healthy relationship is based on respect. Be able to balance your life, have your own life and do your own things, and have time and be there as a couple. And that's healthy for you to have your own activities, your own friends, and spend time together with the person you're in a relationship with. And understanding and sensitivity to needs. That we all have needs, and be sensitive to those needs that you have and your partner has. Now getting into a little more about unhealthy relationships, but I'm trying not to go over into the next speaker. The CDC says that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience violence in their intimate relationships. And that's just what's reported. 40% of abuse is not reported because of the shame, embarrassment. A lot of times you don't want your partner to get in trouble. I can remember I had to press charges, then my partner talked me into going to the magistrate and withdrawing those charges, because if I didn't, I had heck to pay. So I did withdraw those charges at the time. Also, that domestic violence within pregnant women is higher than preeclampsia and gestational diabetes. So it's very high with pregnant women. And 40% of the victims never do share that with anybody else or go to law enforcement. And 44% of domestic homicides, those people had been to emergency room within the last 2 years for some reason. It was probably because of abuse. And I know we've had a situation in this area lately, and it's like we have to teach our young people what is healthy and what is not, and to be able to offer them help to get out of these relationships because they start very, very young. Some of the red flags that we teach people, and this is what I said, if I had in high school, maybe I wouldn't have ended up where in that abusive relationship, was a history of trouble with the law. Either they don't work or go to school. They blame the other person for all their problems. They try to isolate you and keep you away from your family and friends. It accuse you of flirting or coming on to other people or cheating. And that goes on throughout most of the relationship. Tell you how to dress or how to act. And when I work with young people and they say, oh, my partner says that I can't wear this or that, and it's like, you have the right to wear whatever you want if it's appropriate for you. You have the right to wear makeup. You have the right to color your hair. It is your body, and you have the right to do these things. And I try to inform them, these are some signs that the relationship could be controlling. And usually if they start out being controlling, then they turn into emotional and possibly physically abusive. Some other red flags are that the person's afraid to break up or leave that person because they may threaten to kill them, their family. Mine threatened to kill my dogs because I didn't have kids. Threaten to call your boss and help make you lose your job. They may threaten to kill themselves, so you would feel guilty if they end up killing themselves. You may feel that you can't speak out emotionally. You can't share your emotions with them. They want you to keep things secretive. So with ending, there is places that people can go for help. If someone reaches out and in that skit, they didn't want to talk to their friends or coworkers about it, but if you know that someone may be in an unhealthy relationship, try to listen to them and not gossip and share that, because that's not going to help the situation. It can make it worse for that person in the relationship. Believe their story. I had people say, you know, where do you pick up this trash at? I think the counselor needs some counseling. And this came from law enforcement that would come to my house when I would call when I was in a situation. So believe that person. Don't put them down for being in that relationship. They didn't do anything to deserve the abuse. Nobody deserves to be abused. Tell the person that they didn't deserve it. And I don't care what you say or do to someone, you do not deserve to be physically abused. Let the victim make their own decisions. Somebody asked me the other day, what was it that you finally left? I said, he held my dog out the car window when I was driving and said, if you ever leave me again, I'm going to drop this dog and kill it right now. And that was it. If I had children, any threats against that child, that would have been enough. I've had district attorneys say, you know, what's it going to take? Him holding a gun to your head before you leave this situation? I was in and out of court, and something just clicked that day. My family did not abandon me, even though they got sick of me moving in and out and hearing these things and moving me in and out. We could pack up a house in 45 minutes. Because I did it so often. Be there for the person, not give up on them. They need some support. And try to help them make a safety plan. If it's hide a key to their vehicle somewhere, my husband would take my keys so I couldn't get away, and I learned those things from a domestic violence shelter to have a safety plan. They helped me develop a safety plan. And give them some resources in the community. We have Piedmont Community Services, and we work with anybody for almost any reason. If you're having relationship problems, bless you, mental health issues, substance abuse, and we work with teens, we work with young children, we work with adults. We have many different services. And the Southside Survivor Response Center, which used to be known as CAFV, Citizens Against Family Violence, An excellent resource. They do counseling there, emergency shelter. They have 911 cell phones. I had to get a cell phone during my experience, and cell phones just came out, and they were very expensive. And the shelter didn't have that for the victims. The shelter that I worked with up north, they gave me locks to be able to change the locks on my house because my husband had broken into my house a few times. So they provided me things like that. And our shelter here can provide things like that, and to offer, can I take you to the shelter? Can I take you to the hospital? Can I take you for counseling? Just try to be as supportive as possible and be a good example in your own relationships. That's what I tried to do today, reflect a healthy relationship and talk to young people and older people too, that you don't have to live this way. So with that, I thank you for listening to a little bit about my story, and I'll let the other person talk about some teen dating violence. Thank you.
Good morning. Well, she did say a lot of stuff about Southside Survivor. I work for Southside Survivor Response Center, and we do provide 24-hour service, a crisis line. We also have a shelter for women and children. We also have the community side of where we do educating as far as the community, educating the community on domestic violence and sexual assault. So I won't really go into much because she said a lot of stuff that I really was going to speak on today. So what I want is the chilling numbers of what the statistics. So the youngest person that we work with currently in our office is 3 years old. The oldest person we work with in our office is 72. So that right there should show you that it does not matter how old you are, violence happens. And one thing we have to do is we have to talk about it. We have to say it. So the first thing is we're now in the process of planning a teen summit. So it's February 13th. It's completely free. All of our services are completely free and confidential. If you have heard anything that someone came to our office and it's been discussed, please come and file a grievance with us, because we really stress to everyone that our services are confidential and free. The Teen Summit is February the 13th. It's from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. The 4 topics that we will discuss at that day in detail is recognizing the signs of abuse, healthy versus unhealthy relationship, consent and coercion, react on action. A lot of people ask us, well, why don't she just leave, or why don't he just leave? One thing, the invisible fence of coercion, it's so much easier for me to literally stay in this house than for me to think that you're going to go out here and kill my parents, because it happens. So this is exactly why some people say it's so easy for you when you're financial abuse is the #1 abuse that people don't understand. A lot of people, literally, you think about it, in Martinsville, in Henry County, minimum wage is $7.25. The average job you work 36 hours. Then your rent's $500, and then you have kids. So it's easy for me to stay with my abuser to make sure that me and my kids can at least eat. So that's why a lot of people stay. So when when that person says, why don't they just leave? Those are reasons why people don't just leave. So what you can do as far as helping that person is listen to them. Give them resources. Tell them that you're always going to be there. You don't have to judge. It's not for everybody's business or what's going on. So back to teen dating violence. 1 in 3 high school students have been in an abusive relationship. 1 in 3. It's probably about, 50 teens here today? 1 in 3. 1 in 4 teens have been in a serious relationship, say they have been pressured to only spend time with their partner. So listen to those terms. 1 in 3 have been in an abusive relationship. 1 in 4 have been in a relationship where they were being isolated. 81% of parents believe teen dating violence is not an issue. 81%? 80% of teens believe that teen dating violence is serious. 81% of parents say it's not an issue, it's puppy love. 80% of teens say it's a problem. So do we see where the issue? Only 67% of teens in abusive relationship actually tell someone. So the question is, how do we help our teens? Teens are desperately trying to be seen. If you notice, and I think it's amazing how things come in full circle, the teen said, well, because the mom didn't listen. Communicate. If I challenge each one of you guys to take 10 minutes next time you're in the presence of a teen and just listen, that's it. You don't have to have a PhD, you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have anything to literally just listen and not push your agenda, not tell them what they're talking about is crazy. Just listen, because they desperately just want to talk. We have teens that come in our office all the time, just sit in our office and just talk and not feel judged. Think about it. They are sitting here literally, if you don't have on the newest Jordans, if you don't have the best hairstyle, if you don't have the latest clothes or anything like that, they are constantly being judged on all of those things. So therefore, if we can just take 10 minutes and just listen without judgment and let them talk. The next thing is as a community, we got to stop saying it's not our business. Violence and abuse is our business. Amen. It's our business. It's all of our business. The thing is that we have a non-emergency line. We're in Walmart. Nobody is telling you to go over to your neighbor's house and put yourself in the front line of the abuse that you know. Everybody knows that neighbor that they fight all the time. You in Walmart, you see that couple, you know that something is going on. Instead of saying it's not my business and walking on out to your car, because at the end of the day, you feel that little piece of guilt that maybe I should have done something. Because at the end of the day, it's like if somebody would have literally seen, when you read about that person in the paper, wow, that person I seen at Walmart died. All you could have did was literally, it's your business. Pick up the phone, call the non-emergency line. Hey, this is what I seen. This is where it was at. Hang up the phone. That's it. That's you doing something because it is your business. So that's one thing that I say as a community, I challenge you. And teens, young ladies, you are beautiful. You do not have to keep up with the crowd. You can be different. You can be whatever you want to be. Whatever. Our teens are literally desperately wanting to feel a sense of significance. Young men, you can be whatever you want to be. I don't care what your imagination can take you. I will listen. You can come to my office, you can call me, you can text me, whatever. You are amazing, each one of you. Your story, your path, we can all sit here and say, this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to go to high school, graduate, go to college, have, meet a person, or whoever you want, fall in love, have kids. That's not everybody's story. That's not everybody's fairy tale. That's not my story. You can fall on flat on your face as many times as you need to, but one thing about it is get back up. What we also is we have these flyers. Even if you cannot make it to the Teen Summit, we have these flyers. So what on these flyers we created is, the first thing I did was I put a black male. Instead of, I had to search hard to just find a black teen just so that I could put on this flyer. Because we are seen as black males as not in a positive light. So on here, it tells you exactly what dating abuse is. It's a controlling behavior which partners use to gain power over the other partner. The three main types of abuse is physical, 1 in 11, emotional, 1 in 5, and sexual, 1 in 3. So 1 in 3, sexual abuse. That's an issue. Also inside this flyer, it has questions. It's asked, if you answer yes to any of these questions, you are in an abusive relationship, and there is help. The next one is the power and control wheel. Please take these flyers. Like I said, if you can't make it to my office, if you don't want to talk, if you don't, I get it. A lot of people don't. But what you can do is answer these questions and know that there's help out here and know that you are worth. And on the back of it, you matter, you are enough, and you are worth it. Thank you.
We want to thank Ms. Barksdale, and she actually leads right into our next activity. You know, it just seems like we need something to let our women know that, you know, they're beautiful, they're lovely, and Miss Darius Hampton has taken on that task. She actually volunteered to do this. She came up to me at church one Sunday and said, I have an idea. I want to read a poem. I'm lying. But you know, I hope each of you ladies do listen to what she's about to say. It's a poem you probably heard before, but you probably haven't heard it or seen it the way it's getting ready to happen. Miss Darius Hampton.
Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. Because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please. And to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. And then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes, the flash in my teeth, the swing in my waist, the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breath, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care. Because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me.
And we appreciate Ms. Darius. And we now have Mr. Travis Bird. And this will be actually my first time meeting Mr. Travis Bird. And every time I think of Travis Bird, I visualize Charles Bird, but he's the principal at Magna Vista. But he's going to talk about the Hope Center, which is located at Compassion Church. You know, one thing that we have to realize is that violence itself it's violence, but there are things that lead to violence. You know, we've talked about, relationships, drugs and alcohol, and those things can also take an effect and lead to violence. And Mr. Bird's going to talk about the Hope Center, which could offer help for some individuals.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning. So as he shared, my name is Travis Bird. I'm director of Hope Center Ministries, and we're located literally 5 miles up a road off of Irisburg Road. And so I'm here to talk to you about Hope Center, but more importantly, the source of our hope. Martin Luther King, I was looking at quotes this morning about what did he say, because that's who we're here to celebrate, his life and his legacy. And I found a quote that I think sums up kind of what we're trying to achieve at Hope Center Ministries. It says, when our days become dreary with low hovering clouds of despair, and when our nights become darker than 1,000 midnights, let us remember that there is a creative force in the universe working to pull down the gigantic mountains of evil, a power that is able to make a way out of no way and transform dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows. And what I wanted to share with you was a testimony from a resident of ours named JJ. And I won't give you his last name just for privacy's sake. But JJ, I wish he could have been here today, but he said, I got to go to work. He calls me Birdman. My last name is Bird. He said, Birdman, I got to work. I got to provide for my family. And so JJ I met January 17th of last year when he came into Hope Center Ministries. We're a 1-year drug and alcohol recovery program. And when we did JJ's intake, he shared with me that, of course, he had an addiction. He was addicted to cocaine. He did not have a single positive relationship in his life. We allow visitors, families to come into the program, And I said, JJ, what 5 visitors do you want to put? He said, I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody to write down. He's got kids, but he hadn't seen them in probably 5 or 6 years. He got nieces that he loved and adored. He hadn't seen them. Relationship with his mom, with his sister, with his father completely broken. Had not worked in a long time, didn't even have his GED. And I watched, over the last year, I watched JJ grow, not just into someone that is sober, but someone that is a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ. And that's what we measure our success at Hope Center. It's not good enough to just be sober. It's not good enough to just go to work. It's not good enough to just go to church. We have to be fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. And so about March, I saw a shift in JJ's life, and that was when he came into an encounter with hope itself, and that is in a relationship with Jesus Christ. And when he gave his life to the Lord, I saw that when I met him on January 17th, just like Dr. King had put in that quote, there are times when it looks like all hope is lost. All hope is completely lost. But when he was introduced to Jesus, everything started to fall back into place. Jesus said, if you seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, all these other things will be added unto you. And so that's what he focused on for the next year. Today I'm proud to say that this past Christmas, just a few weeks ago, JJ was able to go see his family in North Carolina, provide gifts for his daughters. He's got a relationship with his nieces. He's got a job at Nationwide Homes. He's making $13.50 an hour. He's got his carpentry level 1 certificate from Patrick Henry Community College. I mean, this is truly going from utter darkness to light. And so this is just one of, give JJ a hand. And there's countless stories. I know I got one graduate's daughter in the room today, and it's phenomenal what God's doing. At Hope Center, I'll tell you, I hardly have a clue what I'm doing from one day to the next. But I just lean on the Lord, introduce these men, and we have a women's center in Danville as well, actually just up the road in Cascade. And just trying to introduce them to a Savior that can change everything in their life. So if you know anyone that's struggling with addiction, please see me, come see us. We'd be happy to give you a tour of the facility, tell you more about the program. It's a tough program. It's one where we preach the gospel, we provide structure, we get people working, provide them for their families, and trying to do things a little bit different. Trying to restore lives, restore families, and restore this community right here in Henry County. So thank you all so much for allowing me to share. God bless.
HopeCM.com. Somebody write that down. HopeCM.com. At this time, we have Miss Darlene Carter, and she's going to talk to you for a few minutes. Come on down, Miss Carter.
Hi, everyone. I just want to take a few minutes to talk about domestic violence and its drastic effect that it has on our youth. Domestic violence is something that I know that we all are aware of. And whether an individual is at the direct blow of domestic violence or if they are in the environment where domestic violence takes place, it has a serious, long-lasting effect, especially for our youth. In 2010, it was determined that 4 to 5 million children are exposed to domestic violence. We're in 2020, so you know that the population continues. So those figures are going to be even higher. Some of the things that it affects is their self-esteem, their self-worth, the way they even view and see this world. They have difficulties with relationships and being able to identify a trusting source to go to. So often it is kept hidden. It can also be viewed as bad behavior, and never ever get a dress. Because one of the things that it does, it makes you silent. It makes you ashamed. It makes you embarrassed. And you certainly do not know who to trust. The reason that I know is because though I am still a child, I have been a victim of domestic violence to the degree that for the rest of my life, I walk with a severe hearing impairment. 80% of my hearing was lost. And most of the people that know me know that I intend to try to fake it to make it. Trying to survive. But that doesn't work if you want to succeed and if you want to be the best that you can be and if you want to have a quality life. So I speak so passionately about it because of the way it has affected me. And I know how difficult the journey was for me and continues. So I know how difficult it must be for our youth. As president and founder of Future Generation Foundation, part of our mission is to provide a safe and stable environment for which our children can grow and learn and experience and enjoy life. Our drill instructor, Mr. Lee and Mr. Wiles. There are others who stand with us for this cause. And it is an honor to be a part of this cause so that I can continue my journey to be the best I can be and to share with each of you my concerns for the future generation. Thank you.
We thank Ms. Carter, for sharing. And I've had the pleasure of meeting her, and she did mention her hearing impairment. I think that's let us all know that we can't let anything stop us. We can all push through regardless of what happens to us in life. We have a young man who's going to come up and do a speech, and raise your hand if you've ever won the 4-H speech contest. Raise your hand. That's what I thought. This young man has won the 4-H speech contest, and he's actually competing at the level where if he win it, I guess he'll go on and compete at the state level. So I guess I can say the first person with Sandy level ties to ever win, at the 4-H contest, Mr. MJ Jeffries.
Football equipment. Past, present, future. The running back gets the ball and he goes to the middle. He crosses the 30-yard line. He crosses the 40-yard line. And now tackled at the 45-yard line. The running back seems to be injured. I wonder if the injury is a result of improper equipment. As a football player, do you know that proper equipment is necessary to be safe? Yes, you must be protected to play this game. Football pads and equipment were first introduced in 1877 by L.P. Smock. His pads feature quilt-like materials stuffed and sewn to the underside of the shoulders of his jersey. These early shoulder pads provided minimal protection and were not worn by many players. Pants extended past the knee and did little to protect the legs of a football player. The earliest form of a football helmet was used in 1892. This helmet had no padding. It was just a head covering with slits for the nose, eyes, mouth, and ears. Football equipment nowadays consists of equipment worn by football players for the protection of the body during the course of a football game. Basic equipment worn by most football players include helmet, shoulder pads, cleats, thigh pads, knee pads, and mouthpiece. Additional equipment may include gloves, cleat covers, visor, towel, sleeve, and back plate. Current football equipment is made of synthetic materials like foam rubbers and durable shock-resistant molded plastic. Football equipment has remained consistent in use for decades, with some slight changes made over the years in design and materials. One noticeable change is that shoulder pads are smaller and more comfortable. In the future, football equipment will be lighter and thinner with technological advances, which will include tracking devices. These changes will continue to provide safety and protection. The running back returns to the game, and he gets the handoff and crosses the 20-yard line. From there, he breaks a tackle, jukes left, crosses the 10-yard line, and makes his way into the end zone for a touchdown Lancers. This running back returned back to the game because he had on the proper equipment. As you can see, football is not all about the X's and O's. You must have the proper equipment also. The evolution of football equipment has and continues to increase football players' safety.
I'm here to do the youth recognition, and of course Garrett didn't give me a paper or anything. I just saw it last night that my name was on the program to do the youth recognition. But anyway, first I want to recognize Magna Vista girls basketball team. If any of them are here, would they please come up? At this time, the Magna Vista girls basketball team is 12-1. And Kiana Smith is the coach. Oh, y'all. And also at this time, we want to recognize all youth 18 and under. If you would please come up, we have a little something for you. Yeah, just start passing. And if the youth will please stay, we want to get a picture of all.
Guys, when y'all get your card, come on around this side. Come on around. Okay. Little ones in the front. Right here, buddy. Show off. You get a card?
Everyone get one?
If you didn't get a card, raise your hand. That'll get you a free dessert at Chick-fil-A.
Anyone else? I'm already short.
Okay, on 3 we want a Chuck E. Cheese. 1, 2, 3.
Chuck E. Cheese!
I got it on my phone too. Yeah. All right, we are moving towards closing out, and I know we've had a lot of information for you, but that's kind of the way we wanted to set it up. And we do also like to recognize an individual or individuals for their dedication, commitment, throughout the community. And, just kind of, this is our 10th year doing this walk. And like I say, one of the things we want to make sure we emphasize is, with the ladies and just how important they are and, all that good stuff. And it was real hard. We talked, and I finally just said, you know what, we're going to make a decision. We're going to roll with it. And I don't even know if anybody else knows who's getting this award, but we're going to do this real easy and real slow. This is the Howard Dillard Citizen Recognition Award. And, like I said, we like to recognize folk who have done things throughout. And I'm going to just briefly mention each one of them. This young lady, we asked her years ago to, help us out. Jumped on board, been rolling full steam ahead. She's organized some other things throughout the community. Anytime there's something going on, people are calling her and asking her to help out. And just want to recognize for an outstanding work with the Stop the Violence Walk and throughout the Sandy Level community. January 20th, 2020, Miss Angela Dillard Wilson. And, some people, when they come they together, they're just together. You can't do one without the other. So this other young lady is, just as dynamic and same thing, I could just echo. And I just think it's important to know that we have some young folk, ladies in our community that can do anything that you need them to do. If you're planning an event, call on these folk. They can help out. You don't need to pay somebody a whole bunch of money to do stuff. They can do whatever you need them to do. Miss Deanna Moyer. And we ain't done yet. And this young lady was actually, the first year we did the walk, I lived in Greensboro. We just kind of called some folk, let's do something. And it happened. The next year we actually formed a committee, and she's been on that committee. Man, I knew I was going to do this every year. And just whatever you ask her to do, even if it's the night before, she's willing to do it. Tara Scales. And I'm going to tell you a funny story real quick. I did talk to one person about this award, and I asked her, hey, what do you think about this? And she said, that's fine. That's a great idea. And the more I started thinking about it, I'm like, wait a minute. Man, this young lady, has done just as much and helps out just as much. So I've asked her to help me to recognize some other folk, and I can't leave her out. Darius Hampton. Yeah, she knew about y'all, but she didn't know about hers. And I really do mean that, this is a dynamic, these ladies here. Come on this side. This is a dynamic. Give them a hand. If you need singing, if you need somebody to help organize, somebody to lead something, if you need poems, if you need dancing, if you need whatever. I know Miss Angela organized an event for Miss Gladolia this year out of the kindness of her heart. Just say, you know what, Miss Gladolia, you've been driving the bus for over 50 years or close to 50 years and said, I want to do something for her. And she did it. And just organized it out of the blue. And, lots of things these ladies have done. And we need to make sure we give them credit, for the work that they have done. And we appreciate you all, love you all, and, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. One of my classmates, Mr. David Dillard, come on down. He's with the Sandy Level Lodge, and they do lots of stuff up here. He's going to share a little bit with us. Afterwards, we're going to have a tribute to the victims of violence. Then we have a pledge. Pledges in one of those folders. If we can pass those out. There's 150 printed. I did put them on Facebook. I sent them out. So you can, if you don't get one, you can pull them up there. Mr. David Dillard.
Hello, everybody. I'm here on behalf of our worshipful master, Eddie Dillard. Many of you may know him as Lamar's Dillard. And he was summoned to Richmond for some of the things that are going on up there. He's a state trooper. And so I'm sort of filling in for him this morning. And if you know Eddie or Lamar, say a little prayer for him. You know, they got a lot of stuff just kind of mixing up there in Richmond. I'm a member of the Sandy Level Lodge next door. I got a couple of brothers that are attending here with me today. I'll try to recognize them before I finish. But Eddie gave me strict directions to read, so I had to write it down to get it right. Okay. So just tell you a little bit about Freemasonry. Freemasonry is one of the world's oldest and largest non-denominational, non-political, fraternal, and charitable organizations. It teaches self-knowledge through participation in a progression of ceremonies. Freemasonry is a society of men with high moral character that are concerned with moral and spiritual values. Its members are taught principles by a series of ritual dramas, a progression of allegorical degrees in which are learned by heart and performed within each lodge, which follows ancient forms and uses stonemasons' customs and tools and allegorical guides. Freemasonry instills in its members a moral and ethical approach to life. Its values are based on integrity, kindness, honesty, and fairness. Members are urged to regard their interests with regard to the interest of family as paramount. Importantly, Freemasonry also teaches concern for people, care for the less fortunate, and help for those in need. It's simple. We take good men and make better men out of them. Our goal for Sandy Level Lodge are to bring membership up. We're kind of low. A lot of the brothers have moved on to glory, and our numbers are a little short. Matter of fact, my cousin Eddie and I are the youngest members of the lodge. And so we're looking to bring some more brothers in. At this time, I'd like to recognize my fellow brothers, Brother Lewis Willis and Brother Howard Broadnax, and I think it's a couple of other Masonic brothers here. If you would, just please stand for a moment, be recognized. Brother Riley, there he is. Right. These men are some of the most honest, trustworthy, noble men that you will ever meet. They come from all walks of life. They're great men who put trust in God. And again, I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to speak with you all here today. Garrett, your team puts on a wonderful, wonderful show. This is my first time coming to this event. Had I not been a Mason and part of this lodge next door, I probably never would have came. I certainly wouldn't be speaking to you today up here. But I'm happy to be here, honored to be here. This is going to be a yearly event for me from now on. Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate it.
And David works at Patrick Community College, so y'all trying to go off to school, see David before he leaves, bombard him real quick. Yeah, you know, we like to make sure we give information, but we also, recognize the victims of violence. And as Angela said in her poem, the last couple of years have been rough. We went 8 years without having any additional victims of violence. And in the last 2 years, 3 or 4 people have been added to that list. And it's tough. It hit all of us hard because we are all family and friends and we're all connected. And when stuff happens, it happens to all of us. And we have to keep each other strong. I do want a family member from each of the individual names that I call to come forward. If a family member's not here, if a friend or somebody would represent that individual, just come forward and we'll stand here. Mr. Eric Adams. Lawrence Clark. If we could just have somebody come and stand in for Mr. Lawrence Clark, we would appreciate it. Nikki Clark. Jerry Dickerson. Someone would come forward for Jerry Dickerson. Glenn Dillard. Louis A.J. Dillard. And if you don't see anybody get up and you have a connection, just come on up. Bobby Green. Alton Hairston. Edward Poo-Poo Hairston. Joe Willie Hairston. Marcus Hampton. Maylaza Hampton. Donnell Inge. Miss Perline Hairston. We have Inge here, but it should be Hairston. Najada Joyce. Kelvin Keene. Cora Little. Mary Jane Martin. Tiny Perkins Martin. Jamel McDaniel. Corian A.J. Murphy. Dion D.J. Petros.
I'll take a blue.
Benny Perkins. Clifford Perkins. Charlene Scales. Tom Scales. Silas Terry. Secolin Tinsley. Ernest Wilkerson III. The second. Yes. Ernest Wilkerson the second. I'm sorry. You know, and I think it's important for us to, these are all people that have, I don't mean like they are from somewhere else and they just moved here for 2 days or whatever. These are people who are connected to this community. And you know how big this community is, and it's over a period of time, but look at the number of people, and we don't even have somebody representing everybody that's been affected by violence. And I think if, the image doesn't tell us, man, let's do something different. Let's make a change. Let's stop putting ourselves in situations that could lead to violence. The drugs, the alcohol, the hanging out, guys grouping up together, the relationships, whatever it is that's leading to violence. Let's take a look and say, I don't want somebody coming up here for me, or I don't want to be responsible for somebody having to come up here for somebody else. But it's the life choices that we make that will make that decision. And that's what we're asking everybody to do today. Everything you've heard, everything that you've seen or whatever, make a life choice. That you will not be someone that will be responsible or part of violence. And let us stand, and we're going to read our pledge. And as we read this, we do want to take it seriously, and we want to read it as a group. I'll get us started, but I do want everybody to, read in unison. And this is the Stop the Violence Pledge. And let's begin. Making peace must start within us, in our homes, in our community. Each of us, members of Martinsville, Henry County community, on this day, January 20th, 2020, ourselves to become a nonviolent and peaceful community. To God first. To put God first in all we do, the well-being of our community, to attend churches, live by God's word, to be of our ability in order to be a strength and help a better tomorrow, to respect others, to respect ourselves, to affirm others, and to avoid criticism, hateful words, physical attacks, and self-destructive behavior, to communicate better, to share our feelings honestly, to look for safe ways to express our concerns, and to work at solving problems peacefully in our community by watching over each other and the neighborhood, to listen carefully to one another, especially those who disagree with us, and to consider others' feelings and needs rather than insist on having our own way, to forgive, to apologize and make amends when we have hurt another, to forgive others, and to keep from holding grudges, to respect our community, to strengthen our community by protecting our homes, family, and standing firm against drugs, alcohol, guns, profanity, and any such acts demonstrating violence against our community. To be courageous, to challenge whenever we encounter it, whether at home, at school, or in the community, and to stand with others. This is our pledge. These are our goals. We will check ourselves on what we have pledged once a month so that we can help our communities become more peaceful places to live. I agree with this pledge. We want to thank you. We're going to just ask you to stand. We're going to get ready to close out in prayer. I'm going to ask Sheriff Perry if he'd just come out and close us out in prayer, if he doesn't mind. And if you do the grace, we do have lunch downstairs. Man, everybody give yourself a hand for being here today. We do appreciate you, and we'll start planning for next year sooner, and hopefully make it even. My word is not better, but it's impact. We don't want to have a good program. We want to have an impactful program, and that's how we'll go. Sheriff Perry.
Thank you. I'm going to just say very quickly, I always commend this community. I wish we could do this more around the county. You have brought your community forward. Please don't let these walks be forgotten. Life goes forward. Young people start behind the older people, and we follow the elders. Pass along care, wisdom, and knowledge, and care about each other. Please, if y'all are ready, we'll bow our head. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. And we heard great words, inspiration, young lives, lives that have learned, lives that are saved. And Lord, I pray for your hand on this community and our whole county, that we care about each other, we lift each other up, make a difference. And we stop violence, stop the talk of violence, and we lift up hope, Lord, because everyone needs hope and it carries us all forward. Please continue to keep your hand on Sandy Level, the people who care about others, and help to bring about a better place. Lord, we're very thankful for the meal that's been prepared, the hands that have prepared it. Please bless it to the nourishment of our bodies. Bless us to health and us to your service, Lord. We love you and thank you. In Jesus' precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.